The section of the course you'll likely spend the most time in is content. As I mentioned in an earlier video, you can access this section by clicking Content at the top of the screen. This is where you'll be presenting course material to your students. If your course was built on the new FOL standard template, by default, your content section will look the same as what you see on my screen. If not, this section here may be a little different. Let's start this orientation by going down the left side of the screen. First, we have a search tool. This can help you and your students find content quickly on the page, but keep in mind, this tool looks only at the titles of content items included here. It is not able to look inside files. So, with that in mind, it's important that we name items as we add them so they're searchable. More on that in a moment. Next, we have the course plan. This document represents a plan for your course and should include scheduled content topics and evaluations. If the course plan isn't already represented here, you should communicate with your program manager to start the process of tracking it down. It's important that there's a course plan represented in every course at Fanshawe. Next, we have bookmarks. You can bookmark content elements by clicking the bookmark icon when you see it. Those elements will then be populated here. Keep in mind, this is just for you. Your students will have their own, independent list of bookmarks, separate from your own. Next, we have course dates. The course dates tool, much like the calendar, will auto-populate as you set dates throughout the course. There's nothing manual to do here. And now, the real substance of your course, the actual content. The first thing you'll see here is the table of contents, which allows you to scroll through all of the content in the course at a high level. This list often gets long, so it isn't the most efficient way to view your content. You'll then see a list of content modules. Again, if you're using the FOL standard template, you should see 3 modules here: course information, evaluations, and lessons. The course information module contains 4 HTML pages by default: course overview, meet the professor, academic and technical resources, and Let's Connect. These pages are intended to provide your students with an orientation to the course and also come back to when necessary. To view a page, click on its title. You can then edit the page if you need to by clicking the down arrow next to its title and choosing Edit Page. Going back to the main content page, you can also change the order of content and modules by grabbing them by the handles and dragging them to where you need them. You'll also notice that each content element has its own drop-down menu. As usual, this will provide you with a list of options. We won't talk about all of them, and many are self-explanatory, but 2 worthy of note here are Edit Properties in Place and Hide from Users. Edit Properties in Place allows you to make changes to the dates when the element is available to be viewed by students, add restrictions, which we'll discuss in a separate video, and add a description. These don't look like buttons, but they are. Click on the titles to make revisions. When I adjust a start date, I'm adjusting the date and time when the element will be made accessible to students. If you don't add a start date, it will be available immediately. You can also add an end date to stop access to content, but it's extremely rare that we would do this. Likewise, due dates for content are very rare. You can also delete the element by clicking on the trash can and hide it with the eyeball. If I click on the eyeball, you'll see that I can toggle between hidden and visible. You, of course, can still see a hidden element, though your students cannot. The difference between a hidden element and an element with a start date that hasn't come yet is that a hidden element is entirely invisible to your students. They won't have any idea that it exists. An element with a start date, however, will be presented on their screen as a content element, but they won't be able to click on it until the specified date and time. Also, a hidden item will remain hidden until you make it visible, which you can forget to do. If you set a start date, FOL will manage when it's presented to students, and you can worry about other things. Finally, you can also click on the title of the element to revise it. As we mentioned before, it's important to give your content searchable names, so be sure to include content titles that are meaningful rather than random file names that aren't informative. A good philosophy to keep in mind is that you want your students to not have to open the file to see what's inside. They should be able to get an understanding of its contents from its title. The next option that we discussed is Hide from Users. This performs the same function as the eyeball we discussed earlier. You'll notice that the module, which you can think of as sort of as a folder for content, has most of the same options as files do. If you click on the eyeball here, or add a start date to the entire module, everything in the module will be impacted by your choice. So if you want to release all of the content in a module at a given date and time, it's easier to apply it to the module itself rather than each content element. You'll also see we have two fields, Add a Module and Add a Submodule. If I click on this field, I can add a top-level module just by typing a title and pressing Enter on my keyboard. I can then also add submodules inside a module by doing the same here. Again, you can think of these as folders to manage your content. Okay, so that's the structure of what you see here. Next, let's talk about how to add content. I'm sure you've noticed these three big buttons. The blue one allows us to perform a number of tasks. Again, it would take too much time to explain each one, so let's focus on the three you're likely to use most frequently: upload files, create a file, and add from manage files. The name upload files is pretty straightforward. This is how you can add a file to the course that is currently on your computer. If I click on it, you'll see there are a few options here, but for brevity's sake, we're going to concentrate on my computer. If I choose that option, you'll see that I can drag and drop files into this window or click Upload to access the files on my computer. You'll see the max file size is 2 GB, which is more than enough for the vast majority of content, with the exception of longer video files. When you upload a file, it's always smart to think about where in your course the file is being saved. This will be important when we want to find it later. Click Choose Destination to determine where the file will be saved. In my case, since I'm in the Week 1 lesson submodule, I'll expand Lessons and select Week 1. I can then click Add. A new file will always go at the bottom of the list. I can then grab it by its handle to place it wherever I want. An important thing to remember is that you don't have to upload a file to your course more than once. In the future, if you want the same file we just uploaded to appear somewhere else in your course, don't upload a new version, but rather make use of the Add from Manage Files option under the Upload Create button. If I click that tool, I can then navigate to the appropriate place and find that file again, check its box, and click Add. This method prevents you from having multiple versions of the same file saved in your course, which can cause problems down the road. The third tool we're going to discuss is Create a File. This is the tool you'll use to create new HTML pages. Let's click it now. As you'll see, we're presented with a blank page, but don't worry, we're here to help. You'll see this button at the top titled Select a Document Template. If you click it, you'll be presented with a list of pre-built templates to get you started. If I choose one, the HTML editor will be populated with the template, and I'm not starting from scratch. Take some time to explore the different templates. If none of them are appropriate for your needs, I would still recommend you choose one. This will provide you with access to the formatting we've provided so your new content is aesthetically similar to other pages. You can then just select the content you don't need and delete it. For a much deeper description of each of these templates and the system we've developed to generate engaging content, which we call Xcodes, visit the FOL standard template page on the Center for Teaching and Learning's SharePoint site. I'll include the link to that resource in the description of this video. The next big button over is called Existing Activities. This is a long list of options to add different kinds of content to your course that you would have developed elsewhere, either in FOL or not. Again, the list of options is too long to include in this video. Help is available for all of these options if you click on Help, Fanshawe Online Help, and then Fanshawe Online again. Finally, Bulk Edit allows you to access the edit properties in place for all of the content on your screen. Choose Done Editing when you're finished. Obviously, we've glossed over a lot of information here in the hope of keeping this video to a reasonable length. Always feel free to reach out to us at ctl@fanshawc.ca if you need help or want more information. To speed up our response time, include your name and course code in the email.